Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Ivani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Thursday, February 13th. Not bad seems pretty good after inflation came in hotter than expected yesterday. Following the latest CPI reading, markets ended mixed. The Nasdaq closed a notch above flat, adding 6 points or 0.03%. The Dow closed in the red, shedding 225 points or 0.5%. The S&P 500 gave up 16 points or just more than 0.25%. More inflation data and corporate earnings are on watch. So, Bill, let's get into today with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're actually lower. We're down 0.06%. We were higher. I mean, we were up by like 0.1%, and then we pulled back to like we were to where the markets were flat. Now we're trading a little lower, 0.07%. The PPI, that's coming out. Producer Price Index, that's coming out this morning. Market is kind of waiting on this, and that's going to be really a directional cue for the markets this morning when that comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. But we did have a slew of earnings reports that came out. I mean, AppLovin, ticker APP, Dutch Bros, BROS, Cisco, CSCO, Hood, HOOD, Hubs, HUBS, MGM. They're all trading higher after their reports. And after the bell today, we get earnings from AMAT, Palo Alto Networks, Airbnb, CoinDesk, DraftKings, GoDaddy, ROKU, and WYNN Resorts and Hotels. So they're all set to report after the bell today. Now, here's the key. One of the other keys today is President Trump is meeting with India's Prime Minister today. Now, he is expected to make his announcement on reciprocal tariffs today. Now, that looks like it's going to happen at 1 p.m. Now, the Modi meeting with Prime Minister Modi of India, that's not really till later this afternoon, until 4 p.m., and he's expected to give a whole slew of concessions to Trump when he meets with him this afternoon, this evening. But I suspect that'll already be built into the 1 o'clock time frame. So pay attention to that 1 o'clock time frame. It could be, we're going to get a lot more details because the details surrounding it have been a little cloudy at best. We know there were reciprocal tariffs. We don't know if they're, blanket or if there's going to be some exceptions, but we're going to find out today at 1 p.m. Two key economic reports, besides the PMI, we also get the Jobless Claims report that's also coming out today. And you got to watch the drug stocks today. And the reason why is because the Senate is going to vote today on RFK's appointment as Human Health and Services Secretary. Now, I find it interesting that the drug stocks are actually trading, ticking higher this morning. I would expect them to be ticking lower because, he's anti-vaccine and that's kind of an issue. For a lot of these drug stocks, so his appointment might cause some weakness. I'm thinking Sanofi, SNY, off the top of my head. But we'll have to wait and see how that affects the markets later today when that appointment gets announced. And then we're taking a look at the global markets. We're taking a look at Germany first, and the DAX. The DAX is up 1.63%. Autos are spiking. Listen, the thing about Germany is inflation has fallen in Germany. They had a bunch of positive corporate earnings reports that came out. And then there's the Russian-Ukraine war, which is seen as really a positive, factor right now because, there could be an end to that Ukraine war. So that would be really positive for European equities. And that's where you're seeing the DAX jump 1.64% this morning. And London, London had a bunch of weak earnings reports. That market's down 0.54% this morning. The CAC in Paris is up 1.39% or 112 points. Again, optimism on a possible ending to the Ukraine war. And they're kind of brushing off the tariff talk and weaker global growth outlook because if the Ukraine war ends, that would be beneficial for Western Europe. Then we're taking a look over at Asian equities, and the Nikkei jumped 497 points. That's 1.28%. You saw gains in electronics, you saw gains in autos. The yen kind of weakened against the dollar because the dollar rose because of the hotter than expected CPI report. Then we're taking a look at Hong Kong. Hong Kong finally had a pull back a little bit. It dropped 0.2% to 43 points. Property stocks, tech stocks fell a bit. In China, you saw the same sort of action, down 0.42%. Notable losses in the tech sector. I mean, you could call it profit taking. You could call it a little cautiousness ahead of the pending tariff announcement, but that's what I see happening in China. And then we're taking a look at oil, and oil continues to get weaken. I mean, we got WTI at $70.35 a barrel, down 1.43%. You got Brent that is trading at $74.15 a barrel, down 1.37%. Now, there's a couple issues here. One, the stockpile data. The stockpile reports from the Energy Information Administration. They showed another build yesterday. That caused oil stocks to weaken yesterday, and now the possible talk about the ending of the Ukraine-Russia war. I mean, that really would push oil prices lower, because that would make it because lifting the sanctions on Russia would be part of that deal. So if those sanctions are lifted, I mean, you're going to see more oil out there. So if there's more oil out there, you're just going to see oil prices fall back a little bit, even further. We could be dropping down to 65, but it really depends on that ending of that war and the lifting of the sanctions on Russia. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, double clicking on something you said at the top of that opening after we've digested all of that information that's moving markets today. Earnings action, a slew of earnings is what you said came out. Some interesting names. So let's start there, Bill. What is going on in terms of earnings action?
Oh, well, I mean, let's start off with AppLovin, ticker APP, Apple Paul. These guys beat by 48 cents, and they did it on higher revenue. You look at AppLovin this morning, it's up 28.55%. That's over 100 points. Now, I knew it was going to be moving 70 points after the earnings, but I didn't expect 100. Wow, that's a big move for AppLovin. And they beat 48 cents beat, higher revenue. That's nice. Look at Cisco, ticker CSCO. Stocks up 5.74% this morning. They beat by 3 cents. They did it on higher revenue. And we're talking Robinhood, ticker HOOD, Henry Oscar David. They beat by 49 cents, and they did that on higher revenue. That stock's up 13.58% this morning. Wow. Then there's John Deere and Company, ticker DE, David Edward. They missed by 6 cents, but they did it on higher revenue. But guess what? John Deere's trading lower by 5.08% this morning. And GE Healthcare, they beat by 19 cents. They did it on high revenue. Stocks up 1.63%. This morning. Upcoming after the bell, you got Airbnb, ticker ABNB. EPS is 63 cents. Expected move is 8.68%. Okay, I've seen this thing fall after earnings and then just recoup their losses. It's a hard stock to trade on earnings. Palo Alto Networks, PANW, Paul Apple, Nancy William, their EPS is 80 cents. Expected move is 8.25%. Applied Materials, AMAT, Apple Michael, Apple Tom, their EPS is $2.28, and their expected move is 5.82% when they release after the bell this morning, Emily.
And Bill, I will pause here to mention that Robinhood was your pick of the day yesterday. We will do a check-in on that, beat by 49 cents on higher revenue. Let's hear how that happened, how your pick of the day happened yesterday when we get to the end of the show. Now we're going to turn to economic events. We're sort of on edge here after yesterday's CPI print came in hotter than expected. We're looking for more clues in the economy today with the economic reports. So, Bill, give us a look at everything we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
And two key reports out today, both coming out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. The first one is the jobless claims. Jobless claims expected to come in at 215K. Last week it came in at 219K. So we'll wait for that one. Then there's the PPI, the Producer Price Index. The expectations are for a plus 0.3% reading on the January month-over-month headline. However, the annual is forecasted to ease slightly to 3.2 from 3.3%, which had been the highest rate since February 2023. Yesterday's CPI report, really cautious, making me cautious going into this report. We could see another downtick, and you merge the PPI, the CPI data together, and you get the PCE data, which is coming out later this month. And so I'm a little cautious ahead of the PPI index, but those are the two key economic reports coming out this morning, Emily.
Bill, jobless claim, CPI's report, PPI report, PCE report. It's a lot of data to follow, and you have all of that information at your fingertips using your NewsWare. You have your economic alerts. And not only do you see the information as it comes out, which is critical, you're also able to decipher it really easily. And that's one of the things that I like about NewsWare. Not only do you see the headlines hitting the tape, but it's really easy to dive in and get a lot of information quickly. And you dive into other types of news and information day in and day out, things like merger news, guidance news, buyback news. You look at your stocks together, like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Just looking at my Dow stocks this morning, I got 15 lower, 14 higher, and 1 unchanged. There's going to be some volatility before the market opens on that. Then I'm looking at my FANG stocks. Tesla showing some positive action. Hey, auto stocks are rallying in Europe. Auto stocks are rallying. So I'm not surprised to see it because it's just been beaten up over the last few days. So I'm nice to see a gain there. Up 2%, but all the other FANG stocks moving lower. That's what we see there. Now we got to look at the reasons behind some of these moves, and we're looking at Apple. I mean, German regulators are said to be raising concerns over Apple's app tracking framework. Yeah, they do it. I could see why the regulators have an issue with it, especially in Europe. Netflix, I see, it is trading a little lower, flat to lower, but JP Morgan's still positive despite the recent 18% post-earnings rally. Tesla, Elon Musk to withdraw his bid for OpenAI if the company stays as a nonprofit. I think this is meaningless. His bid was already rejected. I mean, it's not new. Why do you keep saying, I have a bid? I have a bid for your company. Look at me. It's like, it was rejected, dude. It wasn't even looked at. Moving over to Dow Jones 30, we're talking Apple. Apple confirms that Apple TV is now available on Android devices. Chevron, ticker CVX, Charlie Victor X-ray. They announced that they're going to be reducing their workforce by 15 to 20% by year end 2026. So that could be interesting. And Microsoft, WSP has been designated as Microsoft's preferred partner for engineering and science consultancy. So interesting. Now we're talking merger news. The big one out there really is the Honda Nissan talks. They ended their mergers, so Nissan needs to find another partner. I think Honda looked at the books and said, this just isn't making sense to us. So, Nissan needs to find somebody to help them out. We're talking guidance news. We're talking HubSpot, ticker HUBS, Henry, Uncle Boy, Sam. They see full year 2025 EPS coming in $9.11 to $9.19. Street estimate $9.13. I call it an uptick. Apple sees Q1 revenue $1.355 billion to $1.38.5 billion. Street estimate was $1.32 billion. That's an uptick. Reddit ticker RDDT. Richard, David, Tom. They see Q1 revenue coming in $360 million to $370 million. Street estimate was $358.44 million. Now, see, that's an uptick, but the shares are getting hit. The reason why the shares are getting hit is because their subscriber growth, isn't increasing. So that's causing a lot of concerns for Reddit stock. I mean, the stock has been on a tear since, remember, it used to trade $75 when on the IPO, and now it's $225. Datadog, ticker DDOG, they see full year 2025 EPS coming in $1.65 to $1.70. Street estimate had it at $1.98. That's why the stock is down over 10% this morning. We're talking buyback news. Hubble, ticker HUBB, Henry, Uncle Boy, they're going to be buying back $500 million worth of company stock. Trade Desk, ticker TDD, Tom, David. They announced the 564 million share buyback. Now, they also released earnings, and the earnings report weren't good. You look at TDD, and one of the things that they said was, we're getting hit. We see lower advertising in the future because more money's moving over to streaming. See, the streaming guys, it's cheap right now, as compared to the online ads, which can be a little pricey considering what you get. You get more users, but the TV is more directional. So Trade Desk, lowering their earnings estimates, lowering their earnings forecast was not really a big positive bit, and it was not really a big shot in the arm for the stock. So they had to do something, and they did a buyback. Then we got Royal Caribbean, ticker RCL, Richard, Charlie, Larry. They announced a 1 billion share buyback, so that's positive for ticker RCL. But that's what I have for you about news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk Pick of the Day. Bill, what do you have for us today?
With Coinbase, ticker COIN, Charlie, Oscar, India, Nancy, Coinbase. Earnings are out after the bell. EPS 87 cents. Expected move 8.33%. Looking at yesterday's call volume, 59,535 versus put volume of 28,572. That's 2-1. Open interest on the call side, 636K, on the put side, 402K. Positive again. And now that I'm looking at the major brokers, they have been raising price targets, and that's kind of a key for me, and then, you looked at the advent of what's happened in crypto over the last few months, and it's really been positive. So, this is a pure crypto play. I think you're going to see some, positive earnings here, and I think you're going to see, the stock run. My issue is I got to get in at a good price. I got to get it in a price, and I'm thinking I want to get in under 80. I want to get in under 80. I mean, the stock's trading 82.40. The stock's trading 282.40 to 282.65, and I want to get in under 280. So it's I may miss it. But but 280 is really, and I honestly, I'd like to get in at 278, 277, 278 is really my preferred entry point. But anything under 280 should be good. But that's my pick of the day. Coinbase, ticker COIN, Charlie, Oscar, India, Nancy, under 280, Emily.
Coinbase under 280 it is today, Bill. We will follow that along with you. And as you mentioned, earnings after the bell today. Your pick of the day came ahead of their earnings after the bell. Also may have to do with cryptocurrency. So we will, in just a moment, take a look at that pick of the day before signing off. But before that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
Oh, Trump's out there saying, today's the big one, reciprocal tariffs. Yeah, well, we know. Oil futures trade lower on the Russian-Ukraine prospects and U.S. tariff plan. BOXL, Boy, Oscar, X-Ray, Larry, they announced a 1-for-5 reverse stock split. Seagate, STX, Sam, Tom, X-Ray, they're going to be requiring INVAC for $4 per share in cash. IMO, Imperial Oil CEO Brad Corson to retire. Hanes Brands, HBI, CEO Steve Bratspies, he's going to depart. Steve Madden Shoes, SHOO, they're going to be acquiring Kurt Geiger, paying like 289 million British pounds in cash. Crocs, ticker CROX, raises their share repurchasing authorization by 1 billion. Wow, CROX. Ticker IDYA, India, David, Yellow Apple, they entered into an additional supply pact with Gilead. Here, Trade Desk, company forecasted first quarter revenue below expectations, softer demand for its digital advertising services and connected TV market, sending shares down and extended trading. I mean, stock's down big. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into trading today, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day. As we mentioned it earlier in the show, was Robinhood. I did see a slew of price target raises on the stock this morning, just hitting the tape. Price target raise after price target raise. You did give us that look at their earnings report. Robinhood did report a Q4 EPS after the bell yesterday of $1.01. Far surpassing the analyst estimates, around 32 cents. Revenue for the quarter came in at $1.01 billion versus the consensus estimate of $849.06 million. The company credited rising deposit and cryptocurrency valuations, sort of just as you thought, Bill, and you told us on the show yesterday, you thought there was going to be some positivity there. How'd your call work out? Was it positive?
Worked out great. I mean, listen, the stock opened up at $53.17 and hit a high of $56.71 during the day, and it closed at $55.91. And then after the earnings, the stock popped. You look at the Robinhood this morning, it's up 13.75% to $63.59. Now, if you were watching this, when that CPI came out, the stock got smoked. It dropped like $2 after that, after the CPI report, which was like which was like buying with a coupon. It was this huge discount. I mean, that's when I went long. I went long after the CPI report because I knew this thing was going to really have some legs. And sure enough, it did. And moments later, it's trading 55. And I'm like, oh, man, this is beautiful. So, yeah, Robinhood, ticker HOOD, big winner yesterday, Emily.
Big winner there, Bill, and we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Coinbase pick up the day, see if that one's also a winner. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow to end your trading week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Vani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.